Well, we expected all the carnage to go down in the penultimate episode. This episode shows us that this is not going nearly as slow as we thought it was. Hey guys, here for American Horror Story Roanoke, episode 7, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode, mainly because of the fact that I loved the way last week's episode was done. I think this is the perfect way of getting us reintroduced to these characters, getting us introduced to the new characters, and just putting us in a much more harrowing and dark scenario, and that's something I was definitely looking forward to in this episode, and what an episode. I mean, this episode was insane. It really was. I mean, between all the violence and the death, I mean, there were about 4 deaths in this episode, which is insane. I thought we were going to go a lot slower, but no, and I get it. I mean, like, there's like 8 characters that need to die. I understand that, but, definitely really love this episode. Another really great example of how great this season is. But it wasn't campy, and I really do like them for doing that. This season, I don't think it all has been campy. I think it's been self-aware, yes, but I don't really think campy is the way to classify it. And I think that's something they're doing very well this season. But let's just get into this episode because there is a lot to talk about. I know I say that every single week, but there really is a lot that went down in this episode, and I have a lot to say about it. I do think that some things might have gone a bit too quickly, but let me just get right into it because I really do want to talk about, everything that happened. But we start off and we see Sydney. He's in the production office watching all the action in the house on the multiple hidden cameras. We see his reaction to Dominic coming in. He cheers in the fight between Dominic and Matt, knowing that it'll be a ratings grabber. And again, reminded that Sydney does not really care about these people. He just cares about the TV. And again, I really like that edge to Sydney. It reminds me very much of Quinn from Unreal. The good Quinn, not the Quinn that we have on Unreal now. Season 2 Quinn, she's fine, but the Unreal that I love is what American Horror Story is really trying to do here, and I think they did a really good job with that. But he ends up cheering on the fight, and basically he's reminded no one has talked to Diana since she raced off the set. He doesn't really care about her because of the fact that he feels that she didn't, she left for personal reasons. Now, we know the real reason why she left. I'm surprised they didn't find out about her death, but no, they didn't. They don't know that she's dead, and basically, Sydney's not worried about it. Should be as she was killed by the pigman. He should be. But one of the camera crew sees Rory stabbed in the house. Sydney missed the action. The monitors. He thinks that he's playing around. But as the camera nears off about Rory, Sydney's assistant also screams from outside the office, which is set up in the far from the house and in the woods not far from the house. I don't know why you would set things up in the woods. Well, I do know why. Sydney's careless and he's stupid, and I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they're making dumb decisions. Sydney's supposed to be dumb. Again, Sydney just cares about ratings. He doesn't really care for these people's well-being. He doesn't care if they're in a dangerous scenario. He doesn't even care if something bad happens to him. What did he tell his cameraman? The camera never stops. Always keep going, and this scene perfectly shows that. We see Sydney's assistant screams from outside the office, which is set up in the woods not far from the house. Sydney and the cameraman race outside to find the assistant bleeding to death. Sydney's then attacked next by Agnes in her full butcher costume. A cameraman also falls victim to the butcher, and they're both dead within seconds. And I was shocked that the show made this bold of a decision to kill off Sydney. Sydney seemed like he was going to be our titular character throughout the rest of this. Like, he was going to be our eyes and ears. Everything we were going to see was going to be, like, through Sydney, the way he was filming it. I mean, he's the one that's anchoring this whole thing. I thought that he was going to be the one to live. I really did. I thought it would just make sense that way. But no, Sydney's dead within the first 3 minutes of the episode. It's a very, very bold choice. And I think one part of me is saying, okay, this is awesome and really ballsy, and I'm very happy that they did that. The other part of me, though, is saying, was this too soon? I feel like we could have done more with this character. I feel like there definitely was some stuff they could have handled a little bit differently. Whether it was, giving him more of a backstory or just showing how sleazy he can be. I understand why Agnes had to kill him. I think it was smart that Agnes killed him because of what he did to Agnes, but overall, just a really great way to start the episode and really shows us how unhinged and crazy the rest of the episode really is. So Audrey then heads upstairs, calling out for Rory. She can't find him. She rejoins the rest of the group gathered around the wall with murder written in blood. And I like that they don't believe Matt at first. Like, they know that they don't really see his evidence, They want to believe that Rory's alive. They want to believe this isn't happening again. I don't think it's so much that they don't want to believe Matt. It's that they themselves want to believe that this isn't going to happen again. Which they know it's going to. But Matt, Shelby, Dominic, Lee, Audrey, and Monet, they all head back upstairs to search for Rory. And while Lee is filming the action using her own camera so Sydney can't control control the editing, which was really smart, honestly, because Lee's the one that feels like she wasn't captured accurately, and she's going to do what she can to capture this as accurately as possible, and she wants to document everything for herself, and we're definitely starting to see that, and I'm definitely starting to think that Lee's a bit batshit. I'm definitely starting to see that here. I mean, just the way she acts in this episode, I'm definitely starting to think that. I mean, again, Ryan Murphy told specifically, do not believe what Matt, Shelby, and Lee are saying. They're not telling the full story. And I feel like we're not going to find out the full story till maybe episode 10. I feel like that's when we're going to find out. Because Ryan Murphy said it's a completely different episode than the rest of the season. So I feel like that's when we're going to find out what's really going on. But anyway, Dominic finds a large pool of blood where Rory fell, but Audrey now thinks that this was all an elaborate setup because Rory got a role in the Brad Pitt movie, and this was simply the way of killing off his character. Which, again, I get it. I really do get why Audrey's saying that, because she feels that this was just, you know, Rory left her, and she thinks that Sydney set this up to give them a good scare and to explain Rory's absence, and that this is what it's all about. Remember, they don't know what's going on. You know, they don't know that Sydney was just killed. They don't know any of that, so this works really well. And the fact that they did kill off Sydney actually did work here. You know, at first I thought they rushed it, but it actually did work in the end, and, you know, we don't really know what's going to happen there, but well, we do know what's going to happen. Agnes is then pacing in the cellar, complaining about being cast aside, and Kathy Bates killed it in this episode, because I didn't know where we were going with Agnes. Like I said, I thought Agnes had, like, a split personality, but we really do see that she is someone who is obsessed with being casted. She complains about being casted aside. She thinks that Sydney deserves to roast for attorney, but it seems that Agnes is having second thoughts about killing the assistant, because she always liked her when they worked together in My Roanoke Nightmare, and Agnes talks directly to the camera, saying that she was a fan favorite, and the fans always wanted more of her. Apparently, The Butcher was only supposed to be on for 2 episodes, and they gave her 5 episodes, and the lights go off in the cellar. She lights a match as a chanting is heard. The flame comes back. Agnes is surrounded by hanging totems, and just a really creepy scene overall. You don't really know what she's going to do, but you know that she definitely has an axe to grind, and I thought overall they did a really good job of that. Again, Kathy Bates absolutely killed it in this episode. I loved everything that we saw of her. And something this episode did really well is that it really did show that you can have high stakes even though you know what's going to happen. I mean, even though we know that most of these characters are going to die, the stakes have never been higher, and I think it just makes it so much more tension-filled, and they did a really good job with that throughout this entire episode. So Shelby's then in the kitchen alone when Dominic comforts her. She tells him that he shouldn't have come back there, that she loves her husband, and I like that she really does not want Dominic there. Even though they had this affair, she actually is willing to maybe fix things with Matt, even though she wasn't willing to now. Knowing that he wants to is what's giving her this motivation that maybe she doesn't want him there, and basically, we see, you know, she's telling him straight out that she doesn't really want him there, and Dominic still has feelings for her, but Shelby isn't really interested. She wants to be back with Matt. She feels like she ruined that relationship, and she wants to repair it, but Matt interrupts the moment, tells Dominic that if he wants her, he can have her if he stays out of his way, which I think is fair. I mean, obviously, you know, Dominic kind of just came out of nowhere, but I like that Matt says, look, you can have her, and Dominic then films his confessional. He deliberately sets out to be the season's bad guy, but he's not really a bad guy. You definitely do see that he's playing this up for TV. He is willing to do whatever he can to be, you know, focused on the show. You know, he wants to be one of the big characters, and he does care about Shelby, but he really just wants to get under Matt's skin. You know, he does genuinely care for her, which I like. I like that they showed that he's not a bad guy. They just show that he's simply playing up his bad guy image, one, to terrify Matt, you know, and to get with Shelby, but the other reason to play it up for TV. He's there for ratings. He even has a special secret body camera given to him by Sydney to use while wrecking Matt and Shelby's lives. So basically, he's there to mess with them. He simply was there as like a prank, and he's going to continue doing that. And I love how unashamed Dominic is of that. This is the kind of role Cuba Gooding Jr. needs to play. Cuba Gooding Jr. has not left much of an impression on me this season. I think he was good as Matt, but he is so much better as Dominic. I mean, Dominic is just the more of the role he needs to play. I think Cuba Gooding Jr. does a really good job playing these dark, brooding figures who have definitely a big secret, and Dominic, while isn't a dark, brooding figure, he definitely is someone that's hiding a huge secret, and I really do like what we're seeing with him in this episode. But Shelby's then sobbing in her bedroom when she sees something on the bed. Agnes then sneaks up behind her, muttering about the land belonging to her people. She advances on Shelby, starts crying because she wasn't allowed to be on the show. She slips back, and this scene was insane. She slips back into the butcher roll, slices Shelby down her back. I mean, she didn't even try to not kill Shelby. I honestly thought Shelby was going to die here, but then I'm like, oh no, Shelby's the main character. No way it's going to happen. But Shelby films Agnes as she's about to slice her again. Fortunately, Dominic does run to Shelby's rescue, fights Agnes off, and then slams her to the floor. And when he comes back to check on Shelby, Agnes has somehow disappeared. They don't know how, but we know that she has disappeared. Now, it makes sense why Agnes did go after Shelby. You know, Shelby is the one that seems to be very miserable right now, very plain, and Agnes is obviously upset because Shelby got to come back, but she didn't. And she's obviously very jealous of that. She's doing what she can to give herself screen time. That's what a lot of these characters are doing. A lot of these characters are focused about screen time and things like that. And that's really something that I think the season's doing really well in the way the other seasons haven't. That's something that really makes this particular half of the season stand out more than any other season so far. But obviously, everyone comes to help Shelby, who has had a horrible bloody wound down her back. I mean, it's really bad. If Dominic did not come back, she probably would have died. And Audrey once played a nurse, so she actually oversees bandaging the wounds, which I thought was smart, actually, the way that Audrey knew. Even though she was a nurse, she still knew what to do, and the phone lines are then cut to Dominic, who speaks into the camera, tells Sydney to send an ambulance, and again, Sydney's not there, so they can't do anything. So in the confessional, Monet said it's been an hour and no ambulance has come to help Shelby. Thankfully, Shelby is okay for now. It seems like everything's fine there, so I like the way that that was done. I like that overall Shelby was okay in that regard. But obviously, they're a bit concerned. I mean, they send this ambulance, it's not coming. They feel that it's just because Sydney doesn't care about them. I don't think he would have sent the ambulance anyway, but either way, Matt then suggests that Dominic go to the production office, which must be closed, but Dominic doesn't want to go, so Lee and Monet volunteer, and Lee has a gun. Audrey says that she knows a secret way out of the house, leads Monet and Lee through the tunnels. They hear bizarre noises up ahead, and they see a figure that Audrey believes is Rory in his costume from My Roanoke Nightmare, but it really, I think, is the real Edward Mott, who, at this point, I'm thinking is probably going to be played by Matt Bomer. I'm thinking that's what's going to happen, because we do get introduced to Finn Wittrock's character in this episode. I think Matt Bomer is going to play the real Edward Mott. I mean, you can't really be in My Roanoke Nightmare without having Edward Mott, one of the best parts of My Roanoke Nightmare, and it howls at them. They quickly figure out it's not Rory. Lee shoots the thing, but the bullets don't hurt it, which, again, very interesting. I don't know if it was because it was a ghost or if it just couldn't be her, but the woman runs outside. Lee says it won't follow them because it prefers the tunnel. Monet is upset. Lee didn't warn them there was something down there. Lee reminds them that this is all real. It's not a made-up story for television, and I'm with Lee on this. It is, in fact, real. And again, remember, Monet, Audrey, Dominic, and Rory were completely in denial. They thought that they were playing all this up. They thought that this wasn't real at all, but they're starting to see that it is, and she wants to know if Audrey and Monet will finally believe her now, and I like that Lee is in fact telling the truth. I like the way that was done. I think overall they did that really well. And back inside, Matt then watches over Shelby. And we get this really nice scene between these two because things really seem dire for them. It seemed like their relationship's kind of done. And he tells her that he loved her. She says she ruined it one drunken weekend, but he truly did love her. But Matt says that the house ruined their marriage and that he hasn't felt human in 2 years. Remember, this has been a while since this went down. Remember, I said this was back in 2013. So we didn't have a choice but to come back. Shelby thinks that they might be able to save their marriage. She's convinced that this actually might work. I mean, she doesn't really want Dominic back with her. He told Dominic, look, if you want to be with her, you can. But in reality, she does not really want anything to do with Dominic. She wants to be with Matt. She wants to fix things. And I like that. I like that overall, even though they're going through a lot, you can see that they do actually want to fix things. I like the way that scene was done. And I think already André, Holland and Lily Rabe just work really well together, even more so than Sarah Paulson and Cuba Gooding Jr. It's mainly because that is the real relationship, while Sarah Paulson and Cuba Gooding Jr., you know, they were just playing it up for TV, and you definitely do see how not artificial this relationship really is. It's a human relationship, and I really did love that. But then we get to the last 20 minutes of the episode, which is absolutely insane. The amount of stuff that happens in the next 20 minutes is just crazy. I can't believe how crazy things got. But Monet and Lee and Audrey are having a hard time trying to find the production trailer because they need to get to Sydney. They need to find a doctor, but again, they can't find it. So Audrey points out the blood moon has risen, and Monet says they have to keep trying to find Sydney. They eventually stumble upon the trailer, the dead bodies of the cameraman, assistant, and Sydney. They grab Sydney's car keys, search for phones, and like they don't care that Sydney's dead. Why? Because he was an asshole. They didn't care about him. He didn't care about them, so why should they care about him? But the car is completely dead, so they're stuck. They have nowhere to go, and I don't know if Sydney did that, but just then Agnes runs towards them, knife raised, Lee shoots her. They decide to walk to town because they need help, and just then in the woods, they see the butcher's people with torches. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna go down. Lee then yells for Audrey and Monet to get off the road quickly. Audrey takes the time to take a message for Rory in case she's murdered. Really nice scene. I really do love the way she said that, look, I knew this wasn't gonna work between us, but overall, I did really love you. And again, remember, Audrey doesn't know if he's actually alive, and Monet then points out that there's blood on Audrey's face. They look up, they spot Rory's body right above them, spread by an eagle in the tree. Just really terrifying sight overall. Just seeing him right there before their eyes, Audrey's look, just everything about that. And Audrey's now obviously a completely emotional mess. Monet thinks that they've been spotted as lights approach. They think that it's help, but it's not the butcher's people. It's actually the Polk family that lives nearby. And this is the real Polk family, not the Polk family we saw on My Roanoke Nightmare. The actual legit Polk family. That is true. So they tase Lee and Audrey, but Monet tries to make a run for it. She doesn't get far before she's caught. And again, we don't know what's going to happen here. But really, really great stuff there. I definitely was freaked out during the scene. And again, you're so worried for them because you don't know what's going to happen. You know the blood moon is out there. You know the threat. But I think the stakes are so much higher because we know that this isn't TV. This isn't something where they're shooting it and everyone's going to be okay and they'll be on the next season. That's not what this is. That's not the case here. This is actually, found footage that we don't know what's going to happen. And it's a lot more tension, tension's a lot more filled, and I really did like that here. So somehow Agnes made it back to the cellar. I don't know how she did, but she uses pillars to remove the bullet from her chest. She's bloody, she's crying, she's going off about the blood moon. She vows the house will be consumed by fire and only ashes will remain. And she basically is making her mission to kill everyone. She wants to kill everyone, she wants to steal the show, and she wants to be the villain, essentially. Even though she's crazy, she wants to be the villain. And I really, again, you understand why she's like this. This is someone who rarely got cast in anything. This is someone who feels that the Butcher has changed her entire life, when in reality, the Butcher is simply a character that was only there because of her acting, she feels. And I think overall, she really just did. I think, again, Kathy Bates did a really great job here. I really do love the way that was done, and overall, just really terrifying stuff. But then we get to what is by far the most shocking part of this episode. I did not expect this to happen at all. I expect this to eventually happen, but not this early. We see Matt and Shelby are asleep. Matt hears something. He doesn't wake Shelby, though, and instead he sneaks downstairs. I thought that he was going to confront Dominic. I thought that's what this was going to be, that there was going to be a fight between them. Because he looks like he's sleepwalking. Dominic follows him to the basement, and I thought that when he said, I've been waiting for you, I thought he meant, I've been waiting for you to, to fight me, but that wouldn't really make any sense. We see it's actually Thatch that's there, which actually is played by Lady Gaga, believe it or not, and Matt tells her that he's been waiting for her. Dominic heads back upstairs, wakes Shelby, telling her she needs to see what's happening in the basement. She sees Matt and Thatch, screams at the woman to get off him, realizing that this is actually happening, and then hits her, and Shelby tells Matt they should leave. But Matt says that she feels, this was Thatch that raped him, but Matt finally reveals that he's actually in love with the witch, and that's the reason why he came back. And that was such a shock. I mean, we didn't know why Matt would come back. After everything he went through, why the hell would he come back? Now it makes sense. He wanted to be with Thatch. That was a connection that they had. That's why she let him live. It was genuine love, and Shelby obviously doesn't take this well. She beats Matt to death, completely obliterating his head with a crowbar. Like, she goes full on Negan. Like, she hits him a bunch of times, and it's only after Matt is bashed that Dominic says stop, and just a really crazy scene. I couldn't believe that Shelby actually did it, but I get it. She was in a fit of rage after everything they went through. I feel like this is what we've been leading up to. It was a very destructive marriage to begin with, and there really was no saving it. I mean, after that, there is no coming back from it. I didn't expect Matt to die. I thought Matt was going to be the lone survivor. Now that Sydney died, I'm like, okay, it's going to be Matt's. But no, Matt is in fact killed. I thought that it really added this edge to Shelby. A lot of people said that Shelby's very boring, but I feel like this scene shows that she's not boring. This is a woman that is in a fit of rage, rage. This is a woman that's kind of damaged, and you definitely do see that here. I don't think Andre Holland's going to be done, though. I think we're going to see him again, especially this whole thing with Skate Thatch. There's got to be more to it than that. And also because Andre Holland's just too good. He's a great actor. He absolutely killed it in this role for what we saw of him, and it'd be sad to see him go. So I feel like we are going to find out more about him and Skate Thatch's relationship. There's definitely a connection there. We don't really know what it's about, but it seems like Skate Thatch wasn't actually played by an actress, that Lady Gaga is actually Skate Thatch. Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm thinking it's going to be Tessa Farmiga. That's what I'm thinking personally. We didn't really see her head, so I'm thinking it's going to be Tessa Farmiga that ends up being the witch, just because I think it would make sense. Tessa Farmiga is going to be on this season, so I feel like she's going to be the one playing Skate Thatch. But again, I feel like we're going to find out more about their relationship overall. Not yet, but it's going to be like in episode 10 when they tie everything together, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that's going to be very interesting, but I definitely did not expect Shelby to do this. I didn't look at the season and thought, okay, I think this is going to happen, and it was a very shocking surprise, but a very welcome one, and really does show that no one truly is safe. So after that, we see the hillbillies then have Lee tied up at their farm. They're filming everything. She offers them money, but they're not interested. And then Mama Polk then prepares Lee's skin to be made into jerky, telling Lee to rub the oil into every inch of her thigh. She sprinkles on some seasoning, then stabs her in the leg. Just, again, really graphic stuff overall. And I'm really feeling bad for Lee here, because Lee wanted to do what she could to prove this was real. And she did. She did, in fact, prove that this was real in the end, that the Polk family was real. The Polk family is a lot more demented here. Definitely do see that. And one of the Polk family actually is Finn Wittrock's character. And we know that Ryan Murphy says he's going to be a very fucked up character. This scene definitely shows why. We don't know how, but definitely something's going to happen there. Dominic then tries to get the crowbar away from Shelby. She finally releases it. She's in the middle of a complete nervous breakdown saying he's dead. And you can tell she's very regretful. She didn't actually mean to kill him. Again, she was in a fit of rage, and Dominic says they should wait for Audrey, the girls to come back. Then Shelby has to turn herself in. She can't run away from this. You know, she's killed Matt. It's on camera. There's no running away. Again, as far as he's concerned, you know, they don't know that Sydney's dead. And Shelby doesn't want to do that, but Dominic reminds her that there are cameras everywhere. He tells her she needs to confess and go quietly into the night. So Shelby says she loved Matt, but then Dominic hears a noise outside. I'm thinking that Shelby's going to be the sole survivor now, just because of the fact she has all this damage to deal with. But then Dominic hears a noise outside. It's Agnes. She's spreading gasoline on the exterior of the house, and Audrey and Monet are then tied to a pole. The hillbillies are taunting them, telling them to smile to the camera. Mama Polk arrives, makes her boys leave the girls alone. She gives them jerky to eat. They beg her to be let go, promising never to say a word. They ask about Lee, and Mama Polk tells them they must eat. Audrey's tased repeatedly until she gives in and eat. The way they force them to was very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I definitely did get that vibe here, and I didn't really get that in episode 5. I got that more as like they were forced to by the butcher, but here, no, it seems like their personal taste is cannibalism, and they will do what they can to fuck with people. They don't do it themselves. They're not cannibals. They are cannibals for other people. They will force other people to eat, and it's just a lot more demented, a lot more harrowing, again, knowing that it's real, and that's not just some TV show. I think it really does add to that. So Agnes is saying some sort of curse outside the house when the butcher's people emerge from the woods. Torches in hand, Agnes claims the land, yells to the house, telling everyone inside they'll feel the wrath of the butcher. She feels that she's going to take them down. She is in complete denial, and she has created this narrative that she is more powerful than them. And we know that it actually is the butcher's people. So Agnes turns to face the butcher's people when she sees the actual butcher among them, and the look of horror on her face. Kathy Bates just got this down so well. The look of horror, knowing that she's not going to win, and knowing that she has no chance out of this. Agnes apologizes. The butcher slices her head in two. Probably the most graphic scene I've ever seen in American Horror Story, to be honest. I've never seen something that graphic before. Dominic's reaction was my reaction. Shelby and Dominic look in from an upstairs window, and that is the way the episode ends. Insane stuff overall, but let's just get in this episode and my predictions for what's going to happen. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen, though. Like I said, I have no predictions now, honestly. After what happened in this episode, I really don't know where we are headed. I'm going to try to figure out where we're going from here, because from here on out, I think Shelby is going to be the sole survivor, and it makes most sense. I mean, American Horror Story likes to go in these tragic ends, and I feel like having Shelby be the one to live, her having to deal with all this damage, the fact that she killed her husband, and that's, buried somewhere on footage, the fact that, Dominic probably is going to be dead, because I see Dominic probably dying next week, and the fact that she saw all this go down, the fact that she survived an assassination attempt from Agnes, I mean, all this stuff that happened to her, I feel like it would make the most sense for Shelby to be the one to live. I think it's just going to be, that's the way it's going to be. And I think she is going to end up turning herself in. Either that or she's going to go to a mental asylum. I don't really know. I don't really want to predict right now because we still have 3 episodes. But what an episode. I mean, the amount of stuff that went down, I can't believe that Sydney's dead. And I certainly can't believe that Matt is dead. But like I said, I don't think we're done with Matt's character. I think we are going to get more into Skathatch. I think we're going to get more into their relationship overall. And we're going to see what was real and what was played up. We're definitely going to start to see that here, and we're already seeing that the Polk family was much different than the way they were depicted on TV. They were very campy in episode 5. They really were. Here they weren't, though. Here they were more forceful. Here, like I said, definitely got like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe, and that's completely a comment. I mean, you guys know how scary and terrifying I think that movie is, so that's definitely a comment here, and I'm happy that they did go in that direction. I think it was absolutely the right direction to go in regarding the storyline. Definitely did a good job with that. Agnes, I understand why Agnes had to die. Agnes was crazy. She thought that she could beat the Butcher, and I liked that the Butcher in the end was the one that killed her. I thought it was going to go that way. I thought they were going to do, you know, sort of like a thing where it all connects together and that she's killed by the Butcher, and it definitely makes the most sense for her to be killed by the Butcher. Obviously, she thought she could outlive her. She clearly couldn't, and I really did like the way that was done. I kind of felt bad for Agnes, so all she really wanted was to be on TV, and yeah, she made some really drastic decisions doing that, and she really didn't think things through, but like I said, she really did just want to be on TV, and I honestly did feel kind of bad for her for that. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with what Agnes did, obviously. I'm not condoning the acts that she did, but I get why Agnes had to do what she did. I do understand that overall. I think it was definitely crazy what she did, and insane, but I do understand, you know, why things went down the way they did. Overall, really crazy stuff there. As far as Dominic goes, now that Matt's out of the picture, I don't really know what Dominic's going to do. I mean, clearly he and Shelby are going to try to get out of there. I think Audrey and Monet are probably going to die very soon. I don't know when, but they're probably going to die. I want to get more into Monet's character. We don't know a ton about her except the fact that Lee turned her into a drunk. Other than that, we don't know what else is going on there. We know that Lee was very insistent on keeping the alcohol away from Monet, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. Audrey, I think, is probably going to be okay until episode 9. I think she probably, she'll be here until episode 9, definitely. That's the big question, is who's going to die next? Now that we've had these 3 huge deaths, my biggest question is, you know, who's next, really? Because how do you top 3 deaths in one episode? There's still more characters to kill off. It's pretty crazy knowing that, yeah, there is still more out there. There are more still characters to kill. These aren't the only ones. There's definitely more, and there's a lot more places they can go with the story. I mean, we're only on episode 8, and it looks like the Blood Moon is already going to happen. We're going to see, you know, the real Butcher. We're going to see the real Polk family, and all of that stuff is going to be really interesting. I really do want to get more into Finn Whitrock's character, you know, what his whole deal is, because there's definitely something going on with him that we don't know. But again, I don't really know how we're going to do backstories this season, because again, everything is filmed, so I don't really know how they're going to do that. We'll have to see. I'm assuming a lot of this stuff isn't going to be revealed until episode 10, because again, they said episode 10 is a completely different entity, and I think that's really why. Because episode 10 is going to be where they pull back the curtain. Not pull back the curtain, because they already have pulled back the curtain. What I mean is they'll finally do a straightforward episode that's not found footage. But the found footage element really is working. It's not really gimmicky. It's actually really adding tension to the season. And again, it's not hokey at all. I'm very surprised that the season isn't really cheesy. It was not really convenient. Now knowing that these characters are in fact fucked, knowing that they're not really going to get out of the situation, and knowing that the Butcher is out there really is going to add a lot more higher stakes to this than ever. But overall, guys, most guys thought this episode, crazy episode overall. Like I said, so much to talk about. Definitely just really crazy what happened here. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Loved your thoughts on it. Absolutely loved this episode. Was as good as last week? Oh yes, I think these two are tied right now. I can't figure out which one I like more, because last week it's so much great character stuff, and this week it's so much great payoff. I love the way it was done overall. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. What do you think is going to happen in the last 3 episodes? I honestly have no idea where we are headed. Now that Sydney's dead, I thought Sydney was going to be like our anchor throughout the rest of the series. But knowing that he's dead, knowing that Matt's dead, and knowing that, you know, Agnes is dead, I don't really know where we're going to go. We'll have to see. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Left your thoughts on it. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a movie review. And we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.